Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today I have a special guest with us. He's an author, and he has a new book out right now called Children of the Beast. I have with us Kevin Brown. Kevin, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you so much. I was hoping to hear something like canned applause, like some sitcom kind of whatever. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, go Birds.
Yes, yes. Before
Go
we
Birds.
started, Travis and I bonded over the Eagles.
Yes.
So
I think this is our year again. I mean, I do think we're stacked. I mean, we did. I mean, listen, you still got to worry about the Chiefs. You already got to worry about the
yeah.
Chiefs. But I mean, I think this is our season, 100%.
Well, yeah. I can't say. I thought that last year it was like I've never seen a collapse like that. So
Oh, that was horrible. That was horrible.
I'll be over it in time for the first game.
Yes. Yes. All right. So, Kevin, tell us a little bit about Children of the Beast.
So, Children of the Beast. Oh my goodness! It's a novel. It's about a young man named Martin James. Martin is he's a high school kid living in the suburbs of Philly, where I am now, and it takes place at the very end of the 1980s. And when you first meet Martin, he's on his way to the hospital because his longtime friend, this guy Rob, has just died after fairly brief battle with cancer. And so this is like that moment, like it happens to all of us, maybe not like in the form of a tragedy always, but we're getting out of high school, getting into our 20s, and you start to realize that like the world can be a lot bigger and wilder and meaner, than you knew as a kid. So Martin is not taking this very well. He's already kind of an alcoholic. And now in his grief, he's starting to hear voices. And he looks up one day and there's this humanoid kind of creature looking at him, who tells him that he has to commit suicide. So, Martin freaks out, of course, and the monster kind of makes it clear to him, like, okay, if you don't do what I'm telling you to do, like you think it's bad now, I'm going to make it a lot worse. So, and he's the guy on the cover here. I don't know if you can see that in the water, but so Martin starts to call him the Gray Guest because he doesn't know who he is. And the monster looks like he was a humanoid man, but he looks like he's made out of like dirty ice. And he's kind of cold to the touch, cold to be around. And so that's really the story. Like, can he figure out who he is, and can he figure out a way to save his own life? Or does he even want to, because things do get worse, like as promised, so, does he even want to save his own life? Is it worth, moving on? So that's basically it.
And this is an interesting story and concept, because jumping back from the high school days, I mean, I agree, we all experienced that, because like when it came to high school, like it seemed like it was such a big thing. It seemed like, this was it to life, and like once you got to high school, you realize like when I went to college, I was like, holy shit. I mean, there's so much more. There's like the 20 people who were popular in high school are not the most popular people in the world, know?
Yeah, they're nobody. So often they so they go off to like wind up in jail, or like, you're at the reunion and you hear about, oh God, what happened to that dude? And I have a 12-year-old now and an 8-year-old, and we starting to hear a little bit of like the popular kid drama and stuff, and I'm trying to like impart my old man wisdom of like, just wait, this is not life. Life happens. I mean, cool and interesting things happen in high school. Hopefully it's not a disaster for everyone. It did for me. Like I didn't have much to complain about until like the very, very end. But so I try to balance it. But yeah, your perspective just widens, And if you don't experience a tragedy, you hear enough about them that you kind of get that side of things too. Like, man, like trap doors can open under people, for no reason, and so yeah.
You kind of feel like you're immortal too. Like you think that you're never. I remember, like in high school, you think you're never going to die, and that, like I had, I want to say 1 or 2 tragedies when I was in high school, and I saw people in my graduating class die while they were in high school, and I was like, whoa, people my own age can die.
Right. Yeah, and we might get to it, but sort of the thing that spurred this book on was when I was a teenager, dear friend of mine died from cancer, just like the sort of setup of this. And that when he died, I was 19. And that's like your youthful invincibility just goes poof, and yeah, it leaves you a little disoriented because you're supposed to feel that like when you're our age.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my back, like, I'm going to be dead in a week. But when you're a kid, it's like you can't, when something like that comes in, it can have, serious effect. It did to me, at least, 100 years ago now, but
it feels like that, right? Like I graduated from high school in 2001. I was like, oh my goodness, that's over fucking 20 years ago. I graduated from high school.
Right. Yeah. I was class of 90.
90, okay.
Yeah. So I'm up there. I hobbled into this chair with my old Kiss t-shirt on. Oh, I talk about monsters and heavy metal. And because my main character, Martin, is he refers to himself as a long-haired heavy metal dirtbag, affectionately, like that's his pet name for himself, and that's what I was back in the day. Like I had long hair, played drums in a band with my friends and all that.
So how did you get into horror writing?
Oh God, well, I'm a creature of the 1980s, and my brother is a little bit older than me, and I think it was Christmas of '83, right after Pet Sematary came out. And I remember my brother not being like that into reading, or my parents kind of concerned, maybe. And so they got him Pet Sematary. For Christmas, which makes me because it's such a dark, bleak, awful book. I mean, it's one of my favorites from Stephen King. So he read it, and he was telling me about it, and I was like white knuckle, like trying to sleep at night. And then as soon as he was done with the book, he was telling about Zelda and it was crazy stuff. And so as soon as he was done with it, I snatched it and I read Pet Sematary. So that was my first Stephen King book. I guess I was about 12, I think, maybe a little too young to be reading that. I don't know. Until that time, I'd been writing I grew up with Star Wars before then, when I was much younger, and I was writing on the family typewriter, like hacking away at like adventure stories and Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff. And then as soon as started reading Stephen King, it's like, nah, I have to, I've got to go into the dark tree on Dagobah, like Luke Skywalker, So pretty much I haven't written a ton of stuff. I wrote a novel before this one, it's unpublished, and a bunch of short stories, but they've all been in this vein.
Now, right now, where it's easier to get your work out there, I'm not saying it's easy, but now, I mean, with self-publishing and there's a lot of smaller presses and publishing houses, do you find it easier to? I'm gonna ask you, what do you feel like is the biggest struggle right now? Even with it's easier to get your stuff out there, is it to get eyes on it?
Yeah, definitely. It's like we said kind of before we started, there's just a ton of people out there, very talented people, and traditional publishing, traditional anything, and they're all gatekeeper systems, and there's just not enough gates for all the people who are, good enough, whatever that means, because everyone's taste is different. But I mean, the longer you live, like I've seen, like I said, I played in bands. I've seen musicians that I just thought were like just unbelievable, who were basically unknown. And same with writers. Like I search out, especially since I self-published this, I look out for self-published books now. I make it a point to I want to find, and I found some already that I just I'm like, this is amazing, so I'll give somebody a great review. The hardest thing is just that there's lots of people. And I think also in this discussion, there's so much pressure, on, you got to do this, you got to do that. There's no shortage of people who will tell you how to do it. Sometimes they're charging money, other times they're just spouting off advice, and it's well intentioned, but I see a lot of stuff like that, interviews and people on YouTube with that kind of stuff. And maybe it's because I'm getting older. It's just like, I gotta slow down from this. I gotta like try to, like, I'm on your show. This is awesome.
Mhm.
I gotta try to just do what I can where I can, and like go easy on myself and not feel like I have to strap the whole world on my shoulders and um, carry it, because it is tough. There's we're on our own doing this.
Yeah.
So
And I can imagine, because I mean, to be a self-published author, you are doing the publishing, you're doing the marketing, you're hopping on Travis Brew's Horror Realm and promoting. You have to do all these things, because if not, it doesn't. No one else is going to do it.
yeah, one thing I did, Goodreads for writers. Goodreads,
Mhm.
I have to say, at first when I read that you can do like a giveaway, it does cost you a couple bucks, but you do a giveaway. You can give away Kindle version of your book or paperbacks or whatever. And I was like, why would I do that? And then my friend's like, you should do that, idiot. So, I have done that. So you give away like 100 Kindle copies of your book. People just enter it. It's a contest. You can go on Goodreads right now, and there's going to be 100 horror novels. All you have to do is click a button if it looks interesting, and you might win a copy. But everyone who gets one, they don't ever have to read it, of course. But Goodreads kind of encourages them to read it and write a review and put that up. So I found that to be pretty useful. There's something weird about, you sit away in a room like this, hacking away at a novel, and it's the idea that anyone's going to read it. It takes a little bit of like getting your head around, at least for me, because you live inside this world that you're making, and like, oh yeah, other people can come in here.
Yeah.
Don't go over there. It'll scare the living shit out of you, hopefully. But so,
but I mean, but at the same time, it must be pretty exciting to get that first book out there. That, like, holy shit, I have a book out there. It's on, it's up for people to buy. People are reading. People are hopefully reviewing.
Yeah,
it must be an awesome feel.
Yeah, because you have it. It's done. Hopefully, it means the world to you, the writer. Because why else sit in the chair that long and do it? Everyone's got their own reasons for committing the time. It's such a, like I said, I've played in bands, I've done a tiny bit of acting. You do all these other creative things that are group efforts, but when you're writing, it's usually just you and a screen. So you've got to love what you're doing, and then, getting it out to, like, I've handed it to people, I've hand sold a couple, and just talking to people about it and not trying to force it on anyone. That is a good feeling when someone reads it.
Now, as an author, do you pay attention to reviews?
Well, you have to get reviews first. So that's another thing. So I have a couple. I do. And there's a whole, it's very interesting because at the lead up to publishing this, I was kind of starting to follow all the do-it-yourself reviewers. There's people on YouTube and Twitter. I'm still going to call it Twitter. Sorry. I'm not going to call it whatever that is.
Yeah.
And people all over who review books. They're not paid to do it. They just love to do it, and they put reviews out there, and they have a wide reach. So I reach out to them as I'm able. Sometimes they'll say they'll review it, and then they don't. You send them a free copy, but that's like part of that's just like kind of how it works. You have to just say thank you, and hopefully they'll review it. Again, they're not being paid to do it, so I'm not sure I answered you. What was the
no, I would say, do you pay attention to the reviews?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you see, I've gotten reviews that were like complimentary, and then people like picking at it, but you do kind of have to just back off and like, hey, so what if people like it, they like it. If they don't like it, that's fine. I don't take anything personally. When my brother read it, he said, oh, this read like a Stephen King or Peter Straub book, and it was coming from my brother, but I was like, that's music to my ears. That's if you write something and you love it, 100 people liking it, it feels good, but it can't make the book mean more to you. Because you should love it as much as humanly possible, and if people like it, that's just an extra, a bonus, really.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like, I had to even realize that when I started my YouTube channel a little bit over a year ago. Like, I don't have 100% rating on YouTube. I don't think no one has. I think I'm at 98 or something like that. But I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I'm not.
Right.
My show is not for everybody. My YouTube channel is definitely a niche channel because it's not horror. It's indie horror. Like,
right.
that's a niche. So, but I couldn't take it personal when. I was taking it personal for a little bit when I saw the thumbs down. So I was like, "Oh, shit.
Right.
Like, people are giving me thumbs down." Like,
yeah, but it's just there's so many people in the world with so much. Like I got a good however many stars from someone who I'm pretty sure that I don't know, who didn't read it. Like, and then I heard somebody say, like, on Goodreads, oh, sometimes people will just put stars on things to, like, mark a book that they want to read because it stays up in their feed. Or so I don't know how it works, but there could be, there's lots of crazy people out there. There could be someone who's like, or like someone who's got a bone to pick with anything horror if they think like you're channeling the devil, like all those 80s metal albums that I was listening to. Somehow the devil never appeared in my bedroom. We were trying, man. But so that could be enough. So people are just like, nah, thumbs down. This guy's going to hell.
Yeah, I was just like, at first it took me a while because I'm a perfectionist. I try to be a perfectionist in anything that I do, and that kills me sometimes because I'm not perfect, but like I am also a people pleaser. I like for people to say I'm doing a good job. I like that pat on the back all the time.
Yeah.
And like, so especially in the beginning stages, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I really did not know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what avenue I was going to take my channel. I didn't know how to use a damn camera. I didn't know how to record. I didn't take no lessons. I was
right.
39. No, I was 40-year-old. I was a 40-year-old trying to figure out this young people thing and never done it before. So like, it was like, damn, I feel like I'm trying well here, but like I'm getting
but so many. So many people, like like people jump on and subscribe. I mean, that's that's a sign.
Yes,
that people are watching and like it.
I don't take it personal anymore. I really don't, because I realize I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Like, and like and I get try to tell filmmakers that too, and even writers that like, you're going to find your audience eventually.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
There's plenty of things just like within horror that, like, there's nothing within horror that I would say I hate, but there's certain types of things that I'm just like, like, I don't need to see another Friday the 13th movie. I mean, I'll watch it, but I'm not like, I mean, it was 100 years ago. I was watching, Jason stalking through the woods, and there's a kid in a sleeping bag, and he picks up the sleeping bag and just closes off the end and just whacks it against a tree until the guy's dead. And I look over like to someone like, is this a comedy or what? What's happening here? So, I don't get worked up about it, but there's things in it certain things that I'm just like, I don't, not my cup of tea. But still, like you still feel a sense of community with, I think, anyone in horror, just because you're in the same ballpark. It doesn't have to be my, specific thing. So.
Now, Kevin, when it comes to your writing habits, do you have any habits? Like, do you write in the morning or the evenings? I mean,
bad ones.
Do you drink vodka while you're writing? Do you put Metallica on while you're writing? Like, what do you
know what? No, I can't listen. I can't listen to music when I'm doing that. I can put on like white noise, and now if you go on YouTube, there's white noise, there's brown noise, there's pink noise, there's purple noise. So I'll spend 20 minutes like, what kind of noise do I? What's gonna or just like really weird, dark, strange, ambient stuff in the background. There's no shortage of that stuff on YouTube as well. Like 10 hours of just like demons softly howling in the background. There's like people that sit there and make this stuff. God bless them, you know. But I am way too precious and meticulous with my writing. Like, it has to be exact. You know, the words are finally in the right order. You know, with this book, but to my own detriment, I just sit there and go. And on this book in particular, I wrote the first draft was way too long. And I was like, I don't care. Like, as I was going through it, I'm like, I'm probably going to self-publish. I can publish whatever length book I want. But at the end of the day, you don't want to like hand somebody a phone book, you know, to read. So I had to, a big part of my editing on this was just chopping stuff out. So yeah, and then once I did that, then it was just like I do edits where I'm just looking for like extra words. And when you go through a whole book where you're picking out this little word, it does add up. But yeah, I get really nuts with it. So it took forever to finish, but I knew like as long as I don't get hit by a falling piano or something, like I'm going to finish this goddamn book. You know? So yeah, but as far as when to do it, you know, like I have 2 young kids, and between work and everything, it's just whenever you can do it. Yeah, I wish, you know, I had like set hours where I could just set aside and you know, just do it. So
now, when it came to, I mean, as a writer, you know, is it tough to not only be the writer but also the editor of your book?
Well, not for me. I know some people are like they just want to do one and they want to hand it off to someone, and I'm too much of a control freak that, like, just when it comes to this, not like you know, this is the important stuff. Like my job, nah, whatever. I'm not a control freak there, but like, so I wanted to do all that, and I almost found that to be easier. I was in
Really?
this streak where I cut out all this stuff and I needed to paste together the parts, you know, on either side of what I cut out. And like every time I ran into an issue, boom, like the fix came, like just, you know, automatically figured out, oh, I'll just do this, you know. And so I have a longtime friend, Sky Lance, that he and I wrote a book together in high school. It's never been published and could never be published. But he's a talented writer and someone I've known forever. And so I gave it to him to, you know, he read a couple different versions of it. And then I was still cutting. And then I did go online. So there's a site called Readsy that's just like for freelancers, for self-published writers. That's where I found the artist as well. And there's there's all different levels of editing you can get. So you have to pay somebody, but I paid someone to do like the copy editing, which is really just, you know, are my commas in the right place, like the nuts and bolts. And she did a tiny bit of suggestion about like, use a different word here or rewrite this sentence or whatever. And I valued all that. It was great to read that. But it was mostly just like the housekeeping part of the book. That part I will gladly give to somebody. Yeah, because I was like, oh shit, my commas, you know, I've never taught English. I'm a certified English teacher though. And when I got the report back, I'm like, oh, these commas, this is a problem. So
it's crazy, Kevin. The older I get, I forget where to fucking put commas at now.
Well, I won't anymore after going through that. It's like drilled in there. Yeah, man, things start, you know, slipping.
Yeah. So. Like even like now with smartphones and like autocorrect, I can't spell shit anymore. I used to be an amazing speller, man. Right. I used to be an amazing speller, and I'll just be sitting there like, excess. Is there 2 C's in that? Like, it's words that I should know off the top of my head. Now I'm just like, I gotta go online and Google them.
Well, yeah. I find myself Googling for for definitions, because there'll be a word that I've used for years that in my head, I know what that word means. And then my kid will go, what does this word mean? Well, I could use it as, I'll go and like actually Google the definition and go, oh yeah, this,
Yeah.
But now anything you type in, it's just whatever you're typing in on, it just starts to spell it for you,
Yeah.
So we're being trained not to use what's left of our.
Exactly. So when somebody asks me how to spell something, I'm like this.
Yeah.
Let me Google it. Like, I'm like, damn, is there 2 T's in that? Or it's like crazy, man.
I'm still, I was always a pretty good speller, way better than math. And I'm still pretty good. Like often people will hand me things to like proofread, but I still mess up. So.
Now, as a horror writer, listen, there's a lot of good things that's going on in the horror community right now. But what's one thing that you are a little nervous about or uneasy about?
Oh, well, in not just horror writing, all writing and all human creativity is now like we're on the precipice. Like this, call me an old dude, but like when I didn't know anything. I do nothing about AI. Zero. Like I had seen a couple pictures online of, we made this weird picture using AI, and I would look at this stuff and go, why does that guy have 10 fingers? Or it was like just really strange and weird, but funny. You could laugh at it. And I didn't think anything of it. And I wasn't even thinking for the sake of the visual artist, like, someone's work was stolen to make that, to put that together. But generative AI to me is just like I felt my heart drop when I read that. Like it's writing, like people are writing stories. They're not really writing stories with it. They're just, giving a prompt and it's spitting out this garbage that a writer might then sit and try to like fashion it into a story or something. But my heart just sank when I heard, because I thought, my God, like that, like pretty soon there's not going to be anybody alive who remembered a time where you could just sit down and write a story where you didn't have that crutch sitting there. It's not going to be long where, everybody alive is going to have a history of using it in some way, and it's going to be more and more okay. And to me, it's just never okay. Like if AI helps medicine, engineering, whatever, I don't know anything about those things, and it could like help us live longer, healthier, or whatever. But I just don't feel like it belongs in the creative space at all. Because to me, like if I'm an expert in anything, it's writing and telling stories. And that has to be left to human beings. Because to me, that's like a form of communication with one another. Where we're kind of all, we all like the same movie, the same book, and we're all kind of in that together. And if there's something supernatural going on, that's like our way of trying to figure out a world bigger than us. And that should be left to human beings and not I call it the regurgitron, that's just spitting out some garbage that's culled from every Stephen King book that's ever been written, that's been fed into it. And every Clive Barker and it's like horrifying to me.
I didn't know about the AI writing until like a couple of days ago. I interviewed a horror publisher, and I asked him, what's going on right now in the industry, and he was like, AI. He's like, so many, not so many. He said he gets so many submissions, that are AI generated, and like he's like he knows how to look out for them, but over time he feels like they're going to get better and better and better. Where it's going to be hard. And I asked him, so how do you tell? And he said, because it doesn't sound like a human being's talking. And it repeats itself. And I was like, interesting, because I had someone on, I want to say late last year, who was telling me about Evil Dead Rises, the last Evil Dead movie.
Okay.
And he was telling me, and I did research. I was like, oh my goodness, he's right. So that was one of the first movies where they actually used AI to create the script. Evil Dead Rise, and I did a review.
The one in the apartment building.
Yes.
Oh, you're kidding!
Yes, and I did a review of that movie last year, and one of the things, the drawbacks I said with that movie, I said, this is before I found out about anything. I said, wow, these people do not feel like humans. You know what I mean? They don't sound like humans. They don't
Right.
act like humans. They don't talk like humans. They're supposed to be a family. The connection, someone in their family just died. You know, their mom, somebody, and they're like, oh, like it was a weird thing. So when I heard the AI thing, I was like, you know what? That fucking makes sense because that's how an AI would respond to their brother or sister dying or something.
Well, I'm heartbroken, Travis. I'm gonna be googling that to see because I can't I can't let Bruce Campbell be
Ah,
involved.
but I don't know. But think about how many movies are being written with AI that
Well,
we don't know about.
well, so you know there was just that strike. The Writers Guild of America
Mm-hmm.
had that strike, and I'm not in it, but that my understanding is the settlement that they finally reached after however long was the writers put in protections against studios using anything AI. I couldn't speak to like how thorough it is, but I just know that that was one of the sticking points, and the Writers Guild, for what it's worth, like they were happy with the result. So for the time being, I don't know how long that contract goes for, but my understanding is like they're protected because, like, yeah, I can imagine studios just chomping at the bit, like we don't need these people. Yeah,
We don't need script writers anymore. Yeah.
right. And I just foresee, and maybe it's the writer in me, but I foresee like, you know, it's 100, 200 years from now where people sitting down writing like stories, just using their mind and their influences, being like, you know, a cult kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know, not illegal, like still legal to do, hopefully, but like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, oh, you still write, you know, isn't that quaint, you know?
But even
Uh,
like music, like I feel like musicians are not going to write their own music anymore. They're going to use AI, and that's going to take away from some of the creativity.
Yeah, I was looking. I saw. I'm not a huge Beatles fan, but I saw this thing online about somebody fed, you know, every Beatles song into whatever, and it made a new Beatles song. Like the Regurgitron, it spit out, you know, blah Beatles song, and I listened to it. I was like, this sounds like garbage. Like, you know, the two of them are rolling in their grave listening to this. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah, and I don't know, like bands that have been around forever. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they put out something new, like they're going to be asked, "Did you guys write this yourself?" And like any
Yeah.
new band that comes out, they're going to be. But my other understanding is that there is a way to check. There are programs that I don't know how good they are, but you can, you know, with the rise of like ChatGPT, there's this other thing where if you run a piece of writing through it, it can tell you, like, was this generated, you know, by one of those programs, which I really, really hope is the case. Like, because if
Yeah.
we're not going to get rid of it, so if it's just
No.
going to metastasize and be there forever, then at least like give the humans, like, you know,
Yeah.
the remaining humans on the island, you know, as like just give us the means to like weed out anyone who's like, I have my horror book or whatever. It's like, no, you know, I would rather somebody sit
Yeah.
and write a ripoff that they thought was great. That was because people have been doing that for 100 years too. Like,
Hundreds of years. Yes.
give me that all day. Give me, you know, like how many Halloween movies are there now? Like we,
Oh my goodness, like 12. Yeah.
I was gonna say like 38.
Yeah.
So they're written by humans, but they're kind of, you know, rehashing. Just give me that. I'll take that. It just has
Mhm.
it has to have a pulse behind it.
But it's a feeling you can. I'm telling you, like, and I don't know anything about AI. I don't know how it fucking works. I don't know what do you do? Like, you put an idea into the computer and it comes up, generates. I don't know how it works, like the actual process.
Well, I've never. I'm kind of in this like I'm just not gonna do it. But I know so I've never actually typed in a prompt even as a joke. Like tell it, hey, go fuck yourself, and like see what
Yeah.
it's you know. I can't do that, Kevin. Like Hal from 2001, they'll start to talk to you. But no, it's like the Chat GPT screen, as far as I know, is just a Google where you just type in a prompt and it'll spit, you know, write a paragraph of the opening paragraph of a new Stephen King book or whatever, and it'll spit something out, depending on how well it's fed, on stuff created by humans.
Wow.
It's kind of like a zombie, it's like devouring, human-made material.
It's fucking creepy, man.
Yeah.
It is.
So that scares me. And, to the extent that we can just verify in the future that humans are making stuff on their own, then I'll be okay. But like when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, like it's over.
But what if they become better than humans though? But I mean, over time, what if they become better script writers, book writers than humans?
Well, but the beauty of that is that this is all subjective, so
True.
So something that like think of now with no AI and some movie that someone's raving about and you finally see it. I'm not going to name names, but like there's movies where I finally got to see it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Nah, like, and I don't want to fight with anyone. I don't go online and argue with anyone. I just, I can't do it. So like, that's the saving grace, I think, is that people get different things out of, the same work of art, So,
I agree.
Yeah, but it'll keep feeding on whatever it's given, as a bottomless pit in its stomach for everything that's ever been written and said and done. So yeah, it's going to get a lot better.
Yeah. That's scary, Kevin. That's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary.
So.
All right, Kevin. Okay, as you know, this is a horror channel.
It is indeed.
So you know what I'm about to do? I'm about to ask you 3 random horror questions.
All right. I tried to study, but then I realized I don't know what I'm studying for. So.
All right. The first one. You've seen, I'm pretty sure, many of horror films throughout your life. What is one gruesome way that you, off the top of your head, that you wouldn't want to die? A way that you wouldn't want to die?
Well, I already mentioned the kid in the sleeping bag who got whacked against the tree until he died. That would probably be pretty bad. Oh my goodness. One way not to. Well, first of all, I don't want to go any way. Yeah. Can that just be the baseline? Like I just want to be the one who like, why hasn't this guy died yet? He's still alive. Hang out with my like great grandchildren. Oh my goodness. I think anything drowning. That's probably not a good one. Yeah. I don't mind so much like if there's a shark because you can at least like go for the eyes or something. I don't know. But if you're drowning, you're drowning. Or if you suffocate, the movie The Vanishing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it was a Dutch movie originally. I forget the original, and then the American version. I don't. Spoiler alert! That I don't want to say how it ends, but people get buried alive. Like that's got to be.
That's terrifying.
That's like reverse drowning.
Yeah,
you're in a coffin. That's it.
Anywhere you're trapped, and you're slowly dying while you're trapped, and you're trying to escape. It's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, because think of like Janet Leigh in Psycho. That was over in a couple seconds.
Mm-hmm.
At least you're not in a box 6 feet.
I feel but like even what you were saying in Friday the 13th with the tree, I feel like that first hit,
you get knocked
out.
Right.
You're fucking knocked out.
So it was actually humane.
Yeah, I don't think you feel anything else after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if they made that now, they'd have like a little camera inside the bag, and you see the guy's head go,
Now, in the last one, there was a sleeping bag where he hiked it over the fire, and the person burnt to death. Now that is fucking awful.
Like he roast, like a marshmallow.
Yes. Oh my goodness! Because burning to death seems like a horrible way to die as well.
Yeah.
Slowly burning.
I think these are all like air, fire, and water, like work and earth. Like those are all like. I've never actually sat there and thought about that. So now I know.
Fucking awful. Second question is, and I had one in my head. I completely forgot what it was, but it was a good one. 'Cause I don't write these down. I think I'm top of my head.
Okay.
But I got one. What was the first horror movie that really scared the shit out of you?
Okay. Even before Stephen King, there's a film from 1976 called Burnt Offerings with Oliver Reed and Karen Black and the late, well, they're all dead now, Betty Davis. It was a novel by Robert Marasco in the 70s. The film's from 76. I saw it. I was little. I was on the couch with my grandfather. It might have been like 1979, something like that. I'm old. Burnt Offering. Oh, Burgess Meredith, the Penguin from the old Batman show. He's from Rocky. Mick. Burnt Offerings. To me, it's a flawed movie. Like if you sit and watch it as an adult, you'll pick out things in it. To me, it's just a couple scenes removed from being like the most classic horror film of all time, like up there with The Exorcist and The Shining. Wow. And the ones that like if a couple things were done differently, because the parts in it that are scary, like I've met adults who saw Burnt Offerings when they were a child, like me, and we're this like PTSD like support group for seeing it. So it's about do you know, should I say what it's about?
Sure, I haven't seen it.
Okay. You should just go find it.
I'm about to watch
it. It's about this family, mom, dad, 12-year-old boy, and the grandmother. That's Betty Davis. And they find this huge house to rent in the countryside for the summer. It's super cheap, so that's your first red flag. Like, why is this house so available? Then they go in there, and there's this elderly brother and sister. Burgess Meredith is the brother. I forget who the sister is. You can have this house for the summer. All you have to do is take care of our mother, Mrs. Allardyce. She lives way up on the fourth floor in the parlor by herself. And these two are really old, so their mother has got to be like Yoda old,
ancient,
yeah. Evil Yoda. So Karen Black says, I'll take care of Mrs. Allardyce. So the house is haunted. It starts to fix itself. So the tiles start to fall off and it just kind of regenerates. But anyone who comes to stay there, the house starts to go to work on. And Oliver Reed, the dad, has a history. He's an alcoholic. And he starts to have flashbacks to his father's funeral when he was a child. And the chauffeur who drove the limousine is played by Anthony James. He's a character. You've seen him in a million things. He's got a real pointy chin and a huge, like, sinister smile. He's in The Unforgiven, the Clint Eastwood movie. He's like the bartender in that movie. He starts to have visions of this chauffeur who starts to torment him and then starts to show up at the house. And to this day, it's one of the most terrifying, harrowing things for me. And I watched it, not a couple years ago, and the scene with the chauffeur was on, and I just happened to be moving, like readjusting how I was sitting, and I got my face like close to the screen by accident right when his face came up, and I had this like tremor went through me, like I was 9 again or whatever, so I recommend that to anyone. And one more thing on that, I could just talk for an hour about Burnt Offerings, but Karen Black, you go to the Monster Mania convention.
Yes.
They do it in Maryland. They do it in New Jersey. They do it in Jersey, which is right across the river. Karen Black was at one of them, and I'm like, oh man. She's just sitting there. She's eating a salad, and I was like, I like tiptoe up to her. I didn't want the autograph or anything. I was like too terrified. It's like, thank you. She scared the living shit out of me when I was a kid. She was very nice. I guess she died a couple years ago. But I was just like freaked out to get near her. And this was 1,000 years after seeing the movie. So, yeah, love that movie.
All right, so now I'm gonna have to watch that one. Just put that on my list of those to watch. By the way, that's why I like having this show too, because I get great movie recommendations of movies that I've never seen before, and like, yes, I'm gonna put that on.
It is a slow moving movie, but when it hits, it hits. Yeah.
All right. You have to spend 30 days in a house with a iconic horror villain. They're not going to kill you though.
Oh, nice.
Who's it going to be?
Okay, right off
Why?
the bat, I'm not that interested in Mike Myers or Jason because there's not much going on there. You know, like
They're not
got
going to
the
talk to you.
mask, want to let's just kill some teenagers. You know, um, a horror villain. Oh man, I mean Norman Bates. I probably would have to go to that. I have a cold spot in my heart for what's his name, Dieter Laser, the guy from Human Centipede.
Oh yes, yes.
So, quick sidebar: that movie is what it is. Obviously, there's
It
the
is.
gimmick to that movie or whatever. If it's possible to put that aside and just watch his performance, when I finally saw that, I was like, this is a little distracting. Like what he does to those people, his performance as that lunatic, I found that to be pretty, like, way more effective than I ever imagined. I thought it was going to be this, like, I thought I was going to be laughing at it, and I did a little bit, but I was like just horrified by that guy. But so honorable mention to him, but probably Norman Bates. Yeah,
Okay.
you can't see it, but way up in the corner there, I have the Psycho House on top
Oh,
of
love
that.
it.
Yeah,
I 100% agree with you because, like, majority of the horror villains don't fucking talk. Like, I mean, you sit there with Michael Myers, Jason, Leatherface, you can be bored out of your mind.
yeah. That's when Nightmare on Elm Street came out. Like, easily my favorite slasher, if that's considered slasher, because there was just a backstory and a little bit of
Personality.
magic involved and personality. Now, it didn't take long before Freddy was like a professional wrestler and just like spouting off one-liners and stuff. But like those first two movies,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I saw the first one on cable one night. I didn't know what was. I was like, "What's this?" It's like, "Wow, this is." I'm getting pretty scared here. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree with you though. They're kind of, a little bit boring just seeing people get, thrown into trees or whatever.
I agree. All right, Kevin, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Well, still on Twitter. Again, not gonna.
You're the only one. You're the only one.
Well, I see a lot of people out there.
Okay.
So, what am I on Twitter? It's at the Gray Mailbox. Because I couldn't use on Blue Sky. I finally got onto Blue Sky, which has like 7 people on it, but Stephen King's on there, so it's all good. I'm at the Gray Guest on Blue Sky, but at the Gray Mailbox on Twitter, because the Gray Guest is, it's the name of the villain in my book. So,
and where can we find the Children of the Beast?
So if you just go to Amazon, you have to. Amazon's pretty good about hiding self-published writers. Like when you search certain things, like if you search it where it's just it'll search everything, it's hard to find. But if you just set it to books, focus it on books, and then type in Children of the Beast, it comes up.
Why did they do that, by the way?
Because are they listening right now?
Probably.
They're listening. They're in the future listening to this. No, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they have the secret algorithms or whatever. Like you can't just type in it. I think that happens to a lot of self-published people.
I try to. I mean, this is someone who's an audience. I try to look up self-publishers' books by the book name or even the author's name, and can't find it. And I have to actually have the author send me the link in order to sometimes to actually get to find the actual damn book on Amazon.
I think because it's worked for me, and hopefully if people hear this, it's the little trick that I used was just you set it to books, search just books, and then your author and title, and it comes up. But yeah, I send people the link too.
Definitely get a try. By the way, the link is down in the description, so definitely check that out.
Oh, to mine?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I put it down in the description.
Okay.
All right. Kevin, it's been a blast having you on, man.
Yeah, thank you. This is so much fun.
Yes, man. Listen, you're more than welcome to come on anytime.
Awesome.
And I hope to see you at one of the Monster Manias in Philadelphia or New Jersey.
The one in August, I'm going to try to go. It's in Jersey. I'm going to try to go to that.
I'm trying to think, who's going to be at that one? Is that the one Robert Englund and Clive Barker's going to be at?
Yes, and William Shatner, and they add. It's hysterical. They're like Henry Winkler, come on down, like the
Yeah,
Fonz. Like you're gonna do. Like I love walking through that room where you're like, oh my god, look, you know.
it's so fucking random, right?
Yeah, and Clive Barker he's saying like this is it. I saw him there a couple years ago, and I got him to sign. I have this Hellraiser poster over there, and this time he's saying like this is my last go around with. He was in a wheelchair. He was very animated and very, you know, he didn't seem like, you know, I don't know what his situation is, but he's saying this time is like this is the last, Monster Mania or convention tour that he's doing. So I hope not, but.
Well, I'm going. I mean, that's the only reason I'm going to that Monster Mania, to be honest, because I want to get Clive Barker's autograph. So,
well, I get there early. I mean, those things are monsters.
Yeah,
like I waited several hours, and he was so gracious. It was just they put us in this little holding room where he had to go to lunch, and he came in and said, "Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Like I gotta go. Don't worry, I'm gonna get you. I'll be back." You know, really nice guy. So cool to meet him.
Yeah. So I don't mind. I'm just going to spend the whole day waiting in line. I know I'm going to be waiting for hours, but that's going to be my day getting Clive Barker. A horror icon.
Yeah. Like I said, I hope he comes back to it. But I have to say, like William Shatner, like I'm not a huge Star Trek fan, but he's getting up there. And I have a Captain Kirk thing back there. I'm like, I think I need him to sign that.
I think you did because you don't want to do what I've done in the past and not get him, because I mean Roddy Piper, I missed out on him, and he like died a couple months later, and then I was like shit. And then just recently Apollo Creed.
I was gonna Carl Weathers.
Yeah. I've been putting off getting his. He's been at several conventions. I'm like, I'll wait to the next one. And the next one is never happening. And then Stanley, of course, that same thing happened to me. I'll wait to the next one. And never happened.
He was going to Philly. Just had the like fan expo thing, and a bunch of people from The Mandalorian were there. And I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna get some stuff signed. And he of course didn't make it. But yeah, there's a great Saturday Night Live sketch from 1,000 years ago where William Shatner goes to a Star Trek convention and he starts yelling at all the people like, "Get a life!" It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So I was thinking, can I get him to write "Get a Life" on this figure? Like that would just.
But he used to come on the Howard Stern show a lot, and he said that he hates going to conventions.
Oh well, he does a lot of them.
Yes, because they pay him a lot of money, but he said he hates going to conventions.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, what can I say? If he's there,
George Takei loves going to conventions, and I never see him at any.
Yeah, that's a name that and I'm not sure. Like, well, now, she died. I saw her at one not too long before she died. Uhura, Nichelle Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the only ones that are alive now are Walter Koenig and George Takei.
Yeah,
and Shatner.
And I saw videos of him. He was in a Monster Mania in Maryland, I think last year, and like he's in a wheelchair too.
Who?
William Shatner.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's in one of the little jetty things.
Oh, well, maybe it's just to like get around the big. Hopefully, it's just to get around.
Because people were complaining that he wasn't standing up for like the pictures, like the pro pictures.
Oh, I don't complain about anything. If a 92-year-old dude wants to sit there and like, he earned whatever he's asking for. Yeah,
because Richard Dreyfuss, I met him like 2 years ago, and he's old. You know what I mean? He's sickly, and like he sat down. I was like, I don't care about sitting down. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, I'm thinking definitely the one in August.
Yeah,
get to that.
I'm definitely just for Clive Barker. That's the reason I'm going, and maybe William Shatner. I might if I get done with Clive Barker and William Shatner's line is not that long, I might shoot up there because I agree, there's not that much time left.
If you're coming, if you're driving away to get, did you stay like the weekend and do the whole thing, or just do a day and get out?
One day and get out.
Yeah.
It's only an hour and a half drive for me. So
okay.
yeah, each way.
All right.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Realm. I'm Travis Bruce, and that's Kevin Brown. Go
Thank you.
Eagles. Go Birds. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.